Brandy Zadrozny's investigation into Sascha Riley has just dropped, and the reaction to it is already explosive. Because within hours, people aren't just disagreeing, they're pushing back hard. I've been covering this story from the beginning, and when I posted her reel, the response was immediate. Hundreds of comments and very clear patterns in what people are not accepting. So in this video, we're going to go through her reel piece by piece, but more importantly, look at how people are reacting to it. And if you've been following this story or want to understand where it's going, make sure you're subscribed because this story is evolving in real time. And the public reaction is shaping how the story is being understood.
Listen to Sascha Riley's audio, and you will get a whole nother story.
And Sascha Riley is a name that I've been hearing a lot lately. He's got 500,000 followers on Threads where he shares this story.
Right from the start, it's her tone, her phrasing. It's almost meant to dismiss before we even hear the allegations.
It's a fantastical account about Jeffrey Epstein and Donald Trump.
People are picking up on tone. Why use the word fantastical? It just doesn't sound very investigative. And it sounds like you've already decided what this is. Because words like fantastical just don't describe, they frame.
It's a fantastical account about Jeffrey Epstein and Donald Trump that's become a real fixture of the left-wing conspiracist movement. Riley claims that he was trafficked and abused as a child in the 1980s by a network of wealthy and powerful people.
This is why the story spread so fast. We've listened to hours of testimony. People believe him based on how he speaks. His clear, consistent account of his childhood experiences. From here, there are two tracks to form the basis of support for Sascha: evidence and perceived credibility.
But there is no evidence that any of it happened.
This is where the reaction really spikes. She says this definitively, as if she's investigated every possible connection, when in fact she has done a limited amount of investigating. People reacted to this hard, because this doesn't mean it didn't happen, and people thought broadly this assertion served to dismiss all Epstein survivors. As an investigative journalist, to say there is no evidence when you don't know the whole story feels almost like a catch-and-kill situation.
This community has been scouring the Epstein files for proof that Trump is also guilty of Epstein's crimes against children and worse. The White House and Trump have called those accusations false, and journalists have found no proof to support them.
But now the reaction expands beyond Sascha. Many people reacted as they interpreted Brandy's assessment to absolve Trump. They said things like, "So you're saying Donald Trump is innocent?" And "This feels like a hit piece." When in fact, it is known that Trump's name is included in the Epstein files more than God's name is in the Bible. A narrow investigation being interpreted as a broad conclusion.
Now, Riley's story has landed within a growing conspiratorial community. It's derided as BlueAnon, which is a lefty take on the MAGA conspiracy theory QAnon.
This term might be one of the most rejected parts. I'm wondering who watching this has ever even heard of the term BlueAnon. I certainly haven't, and being brandished as a member of BlueAnon when simply trying to understand Sascha's story feels a bit dismissive. On Threads, people question where this term originated and why it was being hauled out today. People are saying things like, "You're labeling millions of people with a term they've never even heard of," and they just feel dismissed and silenced. When people feel labeled, they stop engaging and they start defending. If you've been following this in pieces, you're only seeing part of it. I've broken down the full timeline of this story, from the original recordings to the rise on Threads to the fallout with Lisa and Yoel. So if you want the full context behind everything happening here, check out the Sascha Riley playlist linked below.
Now, Riley's story, which includes details that are frankly too out there to even post on social, it's been shared millions of times over. So in March, I flew to Victoria, Canada to meet Riley, and I spent weeks trying to verify his claims. Now, I talked to Riley's ex-wife and his family. I contacted local and federal law enforcement agencies. I could not find a single piece of corroborating evidence for his claim.
This is where comments get very specific. People noticed she didn't investigate Sascha's claims during his military service. People are asking, what about the alleged CSAM case? The focus shifts from what's included to what's missing.
I'm an investigative reporter for MS Now. My beat is politics and conspiracy theories.
And then there's a deeper layer, trust. Many people commented that mainstream media just isn't trustworthy, and why believe this over independent voices? So now the question becomes, who do you trust?
When I called Riley to tell him what I hadn't found, he posted about it. Within minutes, hundreds of people flooded his comments saying that I must have been compromised or threatened.
Some reactions went further. Some people said that frankly they just think this is a smear campaign and this piece is meant to discredit Sascha. And once that lens is applied, everything else gets interpreted through it. And some of that reaction comes here. On Instagram, some people commented that they thought it was weird that I reposted Brandy's reel, and some people suggested unfollowing me for reposting it. This becomes a trust line, not just content. And one more argument keeps coming up. I've noticed a few people keep commenting, why hasn't Trump taken any action? Because if Trump sued, the discovery process would expose things he doesn't want people to know. So even inaction is being interpreted. This isn't about telling people who follow this story closely that they're wrong or asking them to ignore what they've already seen. It's about looking how this report is landing and why so many people are pushing back on it. What we're watching isn't just an investigation landing, it's what happens when an investigation meets an audience that already has beliefs, context, and a stake in the outcome. And at that point, the reaction doesn't follow the story, it becomes part of it. I'll keep tracking all sides of this, the claims, the reporting, and the response. So if you want to follow how this evolves, make sure you're subscribed. Because in stories like this, the reaction is often just as important as the facts themselves.